Okay, shorter videos, shorter videos, shorter videos. You can do this. All you have to do is remember, stop talking. Welcome back to Aunt Tracy's place. The only place on the internet where you can find hot transsexual cougars in your area. That doesn't sound right. Can we get a fact check on the trans cougars in your area? Today I thought we'd go through my trusty fishbowl and react to all the mean things that I'm 100% absolutely certain people have said behind my back. My paranoia feels especially justified considering this batch of possible outrages. We better get started. We're looking at a full bowl here. Truth or dare? Truth. Tell us a revoltingly intimate secret. A real OPSEC apocalypse. Incriminate yourself in front of dozens of strange and perverse YouTube viewers. You want to know my deepest, darkest secret? Well, when I was but a youth, at school I was bullied relentlessly. My strict fundamentalist mother kept me sheltered and secluded from other teenagers. When I had my first period, my mother said it was a manifestation of my inherent sinful nature. And later, John Travolta crowned me prom queen. And bullies dumped a mega big gulp full of blood on my hair, and it got on my dress, and my shoes were ruined. Third act, I revenge murdered those teens with my telekinetic powers that I totally have and forgot to mention until this moment right now. Next question. Do you ever deal with loneliness? No. Next question. Does the world get lonelier for trans people as they grow old? How should I know? Next question. Do you ever feel alienated, abandoned to a cruel world you don't understand, like an orphan in a foreign land? Next question. Do you despair at the growing likelihood that you'll always be alone with no one to take care of you until you just slowly burn out? I'm starting to sense a theme here. Do you ever feel like a cloud, wandering lonely over vales and daffodils? Did you ever wake up in the dark, all alone?
Oh, I mean terribly alone.
No one else on earth, just the darkness all around you?
And that awful, scary emptiness.
What was the question? I'm sorry, I was distracted looking at this face I keep in a jar by the door. Who is that for, anyway? Look, I know what you're getting at. Why you think I'd have reflections on loneliness? Single Gen X woman. Never married, no children. The thing is, loneliness doesn't feel like a major problem in my life. From growing up with 2 siblings in a 3-bedroom house, to splitting rent with roommates, to my time as a cult leader, I found alone time to be elusive. I prefer a bit of solitude. Most days, I'd rather be left alone with my abandonment issues. Look, we didn't want to come right out and say it, Aunt Tracy, but we're worried about you. Prolonged isolation and your proclivity to retreat into your inner world have us concerned. A woman your age, prone to nervous depression and a slight hysterical tendency. Aren't you worried about losing touch with reality, Tracy? Sorry, zoned out for a minute there. I got lost in the subtle intricacies of the design on this ghastly yellow wallpaper. Your walls are white. You ever crack open a book? We feel like you're avoiding the question. Look, I am all by myself in this world. That's an accurate statement. I live alone, I mostly work alone, I don't have a romantic partner or a roommate or a pen pal or a bestie. I moved to the city a couple summers back because I needed a job, but I didn't really know anybody here in the city, and I still don't have any friends here, really. It's not unusual for me to find myself going an entire weekend without even speaking, simply because there's no one around to hear my voice. And chances are this is just how it's going to be for me. As I get older, I spend more and more time considering the fact that 1/3 of people living alone in the United States are women over the age of 65. I can feel it in my bones. I'm gonna spend another year alone. Bear in mind, the fastest growing segment of the US population are women over 65. And 1 in 5 of these women live in poverty. I can feel it in my bones. I'm gonna spend my whole life alone. So many hours of my waking life I spent just getting to work and running the store, keeping a roof over my head and the electricity turned on and keeping the chores caught up. When am I supposed to find the time to discover the stranger or group of strangers that'll rescue me from this loneliness? I do wonder sometimes how long I can keep this up on my own. Frankly, I'm shocked I've made it this far. I'm proud of my self-sufficiency, but everyone needs a helping hand now and again. And I really don't know if there'll be any hands outstretched when I need a lift. Have you tried getting out, going new places? Maybe try that app where you dine with a bunch of strangers? Use that app, you got no time left, doll. It's basically serial killer helper. Look, it's not like I don't know how to meet new people or that I'm especially shy. There have been periods in my life where I've had scores of friends. Way too many friends. An unhealthy amount of friends. I could choose to be more socially active. I could get back into volunteer work and organizing, but for the time being, I'm pretty satisfied in my isolation. It's comfortable to me because I've grown accustomed to it. And my favorite hobbies are mostly solitary affairs, reading books, painting, plotting industrial sabotage. These are all solo activities. Aren't you worried that withdrawing from social activities will lead to the world just moving on and forgetting about you? Do I worry I won't find attention when I need it? Bear in mind my profile in the handbook. Being conspicuous is my mutant power. I'm pretty hard to miss. People notice me, they tend to remember me, and so they're drawn to me because I seem familiar to them. I can really get into your head. Those are my powers and abilities. I try my best to use them for good. Good being defined in most cases as beneficial pour moi. How can you be so sure that people think of you in a positive manner? Last I checked, we're not the Borg, but our own special little shitheads with our own special little outlooks. Can't it be scary that so many people have different perceptions of you? Perceptions you can never fully understand to the extent that they do. You can never really know what other people are thinking. That would require a mind reader. And if we're going to talk about mind-reading queens, that can only mean one thing, on this channel at least. Time to talk about Emma Frost. Let's see if this outfit gets me an age restriction like my previous Emma vid did. You wouldn't think Emma Frost would know much about isolation or loneliness. What with that steady stream of men constantly trying to get into her mind. But don't forget, Emma was cast out of her family home as a teen. She didn't have any support. She had to make her way in the world on her own. The solitude never really rattles Emma. I am a diamond, Ms. Pride. I am, by definition, my own best friend. But we were just talking about knowing what's on other people's minds. You don't need psychic powers to influence the way other people perceive you. Take a lesson from Emma, Ever the Mentor, in Marauders number 10. Emma and a band of X-Men teleport from a UFO to an ocean freighter that was serving as a floating factory to build mutant power dampening weapons based on X-Men Forge's old designs. As Pyro and Emma infiltrate the ship, they are ambushed by armed guards. What's Emma to do? She's a psychic, sure, but controlling multiple minds simultaneously? That gets a little tricky. Especially if you're not all geeked out on the Phoenix Force like a certain redhead I'm not going to mention. So Emma's going to need a distraction to gain the upper hand. She steps up and displays her arsenal of feminine weaponry, harmonizing her assailants' minds and guiding their aim to eliminate the threat. You see, it's not that difficult to read people's minds when they're all just thinking the same thing. Now, I'm not suggesting you bare your bosoms to get attention. Not all of us can afford a set like Emma bought. Heaven knows if I could afford it, I'd be anesthetized right now. Well, more anesthetized right now. Showing your tits in public isn't how we make friends. That's how you get beads and COVID at Mardi Gras. But show people your assets. Lean into your best qualities with pride. Bear your authentic self without fear. What's the worst that could happen, really? It might get awkward. Awkward is hilarious, sugar. Enjoy the moment. Savor the awkwardness. File it away in your mind and recreate the moment in a YouTube video down the road when you run out of good ideas. What if you feel uncomfortable letting people in? I sell this lubricant that's a perfect solution to your problems. It uses a combination of aloe, clove extract, and natural anal relaxants to soothe the micro tears that occur during rigorous activity. No, you silly bitch. What if you just don't know how to connect with people? What if it's easier to hide your authentic feelings out of a sense of shame and anxiety or fear that you'll just burden other people with your BS? Your BS is never a burden. My BS, that's a burden. Your BS, other people's BS? Girl, that's entertainment. You really think hiding your authentic self is the easy route? Because I took that path for a while and found it exhausting. The constant self-evaluation and self-editing, the unending vigilance, the energy required to maintain your elaborate facade. Just let it go, Elsa. You've seen that movie, right? Woman convinced the world will never accept her and overwhelmed by the feeling that she'll cause harm to her loved ones, secludes herself in an ice castle on a snow-covered mountain guarded by horrific monsters of her own creation. Until her lesbian sister uses the Infinity Stones to travel through time, warm Elsa's lonely heart, and rescue the Ewoks from the dread pirate Roberts. Spoilers. You really are a YouTuber, explaining decades-old movies that everyone's already seen. Let It Go feels a little dismissive, Tracy. All I'm saying is, you shouldn't be afraid to share yourself with others. The only way to really connect. You don't want to burden people. Well, maybe it's nice to hear that other people have problems too. That I'm not the only one that's hurting. Because that's when I feel the most alone. When life gets difficult and I have to take care of it all by myself. When I try my best and still fail anyway. There's no one to encourage me to keep trying. No one to say you did your best. It's not your fault. We all have regrets. I can't be the only person who feels like she's unequipped to handle the brutality of modern existence. That she missed out on her chance to invest in her sexuality when it was in an optimum exchange rate. And even if she had, most people find her too erratic and unstable and unusual to spend much time with her anyway. And the more time I spend in social isolation, the less I'm able to interact with people without being overbearing and insufferable. I've completely lost the ability to relate to the lives and experiences of my peers. I've lost touch with most of the old crowd, my family doesn't come around, I'm at the end of Lonely Street, the Forsaken Hotel. Do you ever feel like maybe you're the problem? That you might be unlovable? I said I was well known. I never said I was well liked or well regarded. Some people avoid me. They think I'm crazy. In my defense, that's solely based on multiple credible accounts of lunacy on my part. My mental health challenges do impact other people. When I'm awash in the delusions of grandeur that accompany a manic state, I can be pretty quirky. I didn't know you were bipolar. Bitch, I'm panpolar. And it's going untreated beyond the cognitive behavioral techniques I employ to mitigate my more destructive tendencies. It's just another aspect of my personality I have to be mindful of around other people. Lots of people feel alienated and alone, but it sounds like you're dealing with a lot of unique challenges. Does being transgender have anything to do with your feelings of isolation? The pervasive discriminatory attitude directed toward trans people in our society is so invasive and destructive to my mental health. It's hard not to feel like an outsider when there are so many forces seeking your exclusion from society. I found a study conducted in Pakistan that determined perceived discrimination leads to social isolation, and I have to agree with those findings. Seems to be supported by my own experience. Perceived discrimination? You people think everyone's out to get you, don't you? Where would I get that idea? I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I'd taken a bit of a break from social media. It had started to wear on me. But after a while, I started to realize I was missing out on the way most modern people stay connected. And I thought, maybe it's time to give it another try. Maybe I could even make some new friends. The girls at work all told me that social media friends aren't real friends. But Joan Jett told me that you've got nothing to lose when you lose fake friends. So I figured, may as well hit it with my best shot. First challenge was the algorithm. My account hadn't been active, so even if I posted something, it wasn't going to show up on a lot of people's timelines. I would need to make a regular habit of posting if I was going to get any traction at all. I would need to post something every single day. I'd have to become a poster girl. I decided to post a selfie each and every single day, figuring this ought to boost my profile. Here's a selfie of me chilling at home alone. Here I am by myself at the park. Here I am taking myself shopping, and alone in the store decorating for Pride Month. I have a lot of houseplants to keep me company. I figure if Miley can buy herself flowers, I can certainly grow me a few. I even posted a reel of me tearing down the boulevard on my scooter with a Zamboni hot on my tail. Now for my second challenge. Navigating the litany of misogynistic and transphobic posts that literally litter the digital landscape. It's almost unavoidable. Even if I don't feed the trolls, don't engage in the political stuff, and stick to benign topics, I'm still going to be exposed to hateful rhetoric that feels squarely directed at me. And you can't really blame trans people who, anticipating this nonsense, perceiving this discrimination, choose not to engage. To protect themselves by just not exposing themselves to any of this. But making that choice also means being excluded from something that everyone else does. That's how we find ourselves socially isolated. We make a calculation that going out and doing things is just going to be a big hassle. And often we're proven to be correct, even in supposedly safe queer spaces. You know, I've been asked whether I'm a man or a woman more often in gay bars than anywhere else I go. The fact that there's no shelter from ignorance and prejudice causes us to put up barriers. Sometimes trauma makes us stronger, but sometimes we develop maladaptive survival instincts. We grow distrustful and have difficulty getting close to anyone without hurting them. So you develop a strategy of avoidance or sublimation to denial. Either way, it's unfulfilling, or at least it's uncomfortable keeping to yourself. It's an easy pattern to fall into. I once read that we should be cautious of patterns, that you can easily find yourself trapped inside of one. And years can go by before you finally realize that you need to do the work to get yourself untangled. If you aren't careful, you will emerge from the isolation you've wallpapered yourself into to find that the house is completely empty. Like this fishbowl.